Yeah, look, yeah, I'm not saying my views can't be better. It's just I don't want to make one of those videos. Like, 'cause my videos are weird enough to begin with. You want me to make one of those weird YouTube Elsa videos? Like, no, I won't do it. How many views? Oh, no, look, still, I can't do it. There's got to be like a way we can compromise, or I already want to review Doctor Sleep and The Irishman. I'm way behind schedule, and all right, okay, okay. Okay, says we have to review it. Just set up the camera. Let's just get this out of the way.
I'm Mr. White Christmas. Frozen 2 is the imaginatively titled sequel to Frozen, the Disney one.
So it might come as a surprise to some people that I actually really liked the first Frozen, and I think a lot of people did because it kind of skewered some of the Disney films we'd grown up with, and I don't think anyone saw its success coming. No one really had any major expectations going into it the first time. I certainly didn't. In fact, I knew nothing about it when I first saw it, and I really liked it for those reasons. The problem is when you go into a second film, people have certain expectations, they want certain things out of it. And it feels like there's a lot of moments where they're just ticking the boxes to try to get the same elements that worked in the first film, but with less success. I heard the directors of the film say they didn't want to do a sequel to Frozen unless they had a story that felt worth telling. So is this story worth telling? Not really. It's a very... Look, I'm not going to give away the plot because as of this recording the film hasn't yet been properly released. There's not much of a story there, but going off just the prologue in the first few minutes, the story revolves around a mystery involving the Kingdom of Arendelle. Obviously, that would mean the monarchy of which Anna and Elsa are parents, so their grandparents, their parents. And then trying to find out kind of a mystery of what happened at some point in their past. And also right some wrongs. That's all I'm going to say without spoiling anything. The problem is that it's quite far removed from what we knew in the first film. The first film had a very human story of sisters that were basically, grown apart, were separated. And we never really got to know Anna and Elsa's parents that well, so if you're trying to tell a story that involves them, and even further back, you don't really have any real connection to them, and it feels very tangential to our characters to the point where you're not necessarily emotionally invested. Now the other thing is that it seems like such a simple story that they had to throw in a lot of elements that are unnecessary, that just makes the plot feel a little bit convoluted. But of course, you probably don't even care about the plot. You want more of this world and more of these characters. And there's a lot more of these characters. Elsa, of course, prominently is in this film, more so than the last film, I would say. And yeah, she has a bit more to do. We don't really get any much more insight into her, necessarily, or any real development. The other problem is that Elsa, of course, has magic. And it was quite simple and straightforward in the first film, but in this new film, it feels at times like it doesn't really make sense. Like, you can just do certain magical things because the plot demands it. Like, there's times where she just did magic, and I was like, wait a sec, that's not... Okay, fine, I'll accept it, whatever. It's sort of that, magic in Harry Potter or the Force in Star Wars, where at times they just do things so the plot needs to happen. And there was a few things in this film where I kind of felt like that was the case with Elsa. Obviously, Olaf was a huge hit with kids and is a comedic relief. He's in this a lot more. He was okay. There's a lot more of him. He gets a little bit annoying at times. And of course, the other problem with Frozen sequel is that we've hit Frozen fever years ago, where we're sick of these characters being jammed down our throats to a certain degree. Certainly jaded adults like myself. And that also goes for Olaf and Let It Go. I mean, there is actually a very good joke about Let It Go being overdone in this movie that I got a laugh out of. But yeah, Olaf is fine. Some good jokes, good comedic relief, as it were. Anna and Kristoff. Here's the problem with, a lot of these Disney princess stories. They don't really have a sequel for good reason, because what do you do after Happily Ever After? And Kristoff and Anna sort of had their Happily Ever After. So now, They don't have a lot to do. They kind of have a very tiny subplot, but it doesn't really need much development or have much to it. It's like they try to add a tiny bit of drama, but it doesn't really land. Yeah, that's kind of it. There is some new characters. They're just not terribly interesting or given any real development or have any impact on the plot. It's just sort of like, just put in some new characters. Like, honestly, it feels like some new characters in the movie just kind of pop in like, hello, it's me, I'm new character, and this is my name, and you might see me in the background sometimes. Do you have anything to do, or? No? Okay, you can go then. Merchandise me! Look, of course, the voice cast is fantastic. Kristen Bell nails the character of Anna. Idina Menzel, her singing is fantastic, of course. I did think her voice sounded a little bit different as Elsa. I don't know if that was just me misremembering, but look, the voice actors all do a fantastic job with their roles. Josh Gad as Olaf again, of course. I feel bad now because the only actor whose name I can't remember is the guy who does Kristoff. Sorry, Kristoff. Sterling K. Brown is in there, voicing a character. Yeah, he's one of those new characters I mentioned. Obviously, the music was a massive thing in the first Frozen, and I'd say, without any guilt or shame, that after seeing the first Frozen, I came home and listened to some of the songs because I thought they were really, really good. With this one, there is some great musical numbers, kind of, but they're also very, very forgettable. Like, I can't actually remember. I think I remember one song, like the words of one of the songs, but aside from that, not really. And like I said, it feels like they're trying to tick the same boxes, so they're like, we need a song like Let It Go. This could be the new Let It Go. And it can be on top of the charts for 13 weeks or whatever it was. And the problem with that is, Let It Go worked in terms of the plot. It had a real emotional release for the character of Elsa, and had a real thematic significance. And a lot of these songs don't feel like they do. Well, some. Catchy. But it doesn't hit the same bar. There's a pun there. So what are the positives? Well, there's quite a few. For one, the animation is really, really flawless. It's stunning to watch. It's a bit more colourful, and the scale of it is fantastic. Really is. We've seen all those scenes in the trailers of Elsa battling the waves in the ocean, and it's stunning. When you see shots like that, you're like, wow, this is really, really cool, especially on a big screen. Now, I will say as well that the film had me interested at the start, lost me towards the end of the first act and most of the second act, but when it came in towards the end, things got a little bit darker and a bit more interesting, and that's kind of where it got me invested again. So, from that standpoint, I did have an interest to see where the film was going, or at least where it would end up. And that sort of goes into what I was saying earlier, in that when we first saw Frozen, we didn't have any expectations. We didn't really say, this is what we want out of this film. And with this one, of course, people go into it expecting, oh, we want this. We like this one, the first one, I'd love more of that. And that's kind of what this feels like. You want more comedic relief, here's a lot more Olaf. You want a song from Idina Menzel, here's 2. You want a love story with Anna, here we go. It's not really necessary, but here you go. You want a cute creature, because we had Sven in the first one, here's Sven, and here's another cute creature, and here we go. You want family drama, here it is. But, as much as it has all those elements that worked in the first film, they all feel inferior. Because really, it feels like the story for Frozen has already been told. So what we get isn't a retread, but it's not fresh either. It's basically Frozen again. And that's fine, because if you love the first film, if you love these characters, and I'm sure if you don't, your kids probably will, they'll really enjoy this movie, because it's more time in this world with these characters, which is great. You'll enjoy it on that level. But chances are it's not going to melt your heart the way the first Frozen film did. That being said, for what it is, Frozen 2 is pretty good. The animation is nice, has a big scale to it. The singing is great, as is the voice acting. But the songs aren't as memorable. The story is fairly forgettable and stretched rather thin. It just doesn't really have the same stakes or emotional weight that the first film had. And the question of whether a sequel to Frozen was necessary for creative reasons seemingly points to no, having seen this. Of course, a sequel was necessary because... but, yeah. It's fine. It's just not necessary and not entirely fresh compared to what the first film was. What did you think of Frozen 2? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are you going to see it again? Is it better than the first one? You let me know. Did you find this video looking for weird Elsa videos? In which case... What are you doing here? Huh? What are you doing? And if you disagree with what I'm saying, hey, just let it go.